Hello, and welcome to Advanced Manufacturing Now, the podcast for manufacturing professionals. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to get new episodes delivered to your inbox each week. I'm your host, SME Senior Editor Michael McConnell. I'm joined today by Kerry Gitter, SME's Associate Editor. I'm going to be talking to Kerry about an article he wrote for an upcoming issue of Manufacturing, Engineering, and Technology. Kerry, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Mike. Great to be here with you.
Can you tell me a little bit about this story that you worked on? This is a family-owned business, and there was a lot of interesting hooks to it.
Yeah, so this is a story that will be in the Shop Solutions section of our April issue of Manufacturing, Engineering, and Technology magazine. And we usually do these previews a little closer to when the issue comes out, but we're doing this one extra early because I just worked on it, and it just worked out that way. So I'm excited to talk about it. So this is a company called Axos Designs. It's a company specializing in high-end custom residential and commercial millwork or woodwork in Queens, New York, is where it's based. And as you mentioned, it is a family-owned company. It was founded nearly 3 decades ago by Tassos Girolamo, a woodworker who immigrated from Cyprus. And the company is now owned and run by Tassos' son, Chris Girolamo, whom I spoke to for this article. And over the years, it's grown quite a bit from, a modest operation to occupy a 10,000 square foot plant in Queens, New York, to employ about 60 team members. And so, it's really grown quite a bit, but it's growing even more now, which is what this story is about, because Axos has just acquired a new plant, also in Queens, that is quite a bit larger than its current plant. It's a 30,000 square foot facility that will now be added to the 10,000 foot facility that it already occupies. So that's the focus of the story to start with.
Well, and we're going to get into all that. But before we get going, we were talking before we started recording, and you had mentioned that you have a little bit of a history with the area around Axos shop, right?
Yes, that's true. This story, when it came across my desk, was especially fun for me because I am originally from the East Coast. I grew up in New Jersey, and I used to live in Astoria, Queens, which is where Chris Girolamo grew up, and it's adjacent to Long Island City, Queens, which is where both of these plants are located. So I know that area very well, and it was really interesting to cover a story because we don't cover a ton of manufacturing stories in New York City. Manufacturing in this country is largely centralized in the middle of the country. And we're based here in Michigan, so a lot of the stories we cover tend to be more in that part of the states. So it was kind of a unique opportunity to focus on a business trying to grow and expand in New York City, which obviously comes with its own set of complications.
Then we're going to get into those too. Is that what attracted you to this story? Was the fact that you did have a geographic connection?
That was fun, and also. These Shop Solutions columns for a magazine are really focused on things that businesses, manufacturing businesses of all stripes are doing to grow their operations, update their operations, solve problems, address challenges. And I actually had not yet covered a millwork business or, somebody in the woodworking industry. So that was an interesting new sector to explore, which was part of the appeal. And as I mentioned, just now, the unique challenges of running and growing a business like this in a massive city, and how to overcome those obstacles.
We're certainly not talking about whittling when we get into this. It's a lot more complicated than that.
Absolutely.
So what kind of work does he do? It's woodworking. Is it? But it's mostly cabinetry, if I recall from your story.
Yeah, this is high-end, custom or bespoke woodwork and cabinetry for both residential and commercial clients. But Axos recently has done projects for a lot of high-profile luxury clients. So the Kith Ivy Wellness Club in New York City, MA Leon Doors flagship clothing store, Avra, which is a very fancy restaurant, has multiple locations around the city, Picasso Cipriani Hotel and Membership Club. So they've kind of built a reputation through word of mouth by doing really fine custom cabinetry and woodwork for these kind of exclusive locations with very exclusive clientele, as well as similarly high-end upscale residential projects too, in that same vein.
These are not cookie cutter at all. They're all unique, bespoke, as you said.
Yes, this is low volume, high end, high customization. Axos Designs is not mass producing cabinetry or woodwork. It's doing these projects in very close collaboration partnership with these clients, tailored to their specifications and their environments. So yes, bespoke is really the word, for what they do. It's not a mass production affair at all.
No, these are not. It's not tract homes or tract buildings at all. They're very, everyone's unique.
Yes, absolutely.
And what kind of equipment does he use to make this this intricate woodwork?
Yeah, so that was an interesting part of our discussion. I think back in the day, cabinet makers there and elsewhere were using manual table saws to make these precise cuts of wood, but nowadays there are automatic sliding table saws. Uralabu told me, he mentioned that Axos uses Altendorf Group automatic table saws, and they also have spray and finish booths. They have packaging machinery there, and but one of the goals that they have with this new facility is to upgrade to some more advanced large scale machinery, such as CNC machining. And so there are CNC based millwork machines. Chris told me that they have a small one currently because of space constraints in their 10,000 square foot facility. But now that they're going to have this larger 30,000 square foot facility with 3 floors, they're hoping to implement CNC machines to cut the wood. And CNC machines are typically designed for high volume production, but apparently there are models that are better suited to the kind of custom work that Axos specializes in. So Uralamu told me that they're exploring options for purchase, including some machines built by Homag Group in Germany. But yes, the core technology that they use for the wood cutting are these table saws, and then there's other technology there for the supplementary processes, the spray and the finish, and all of that. Aside from all these technology updates, another interesting thing is that the greatest asset here, really, Geraldo said, is just the increased square footage of the facility, because he explained to me that he'll now have a real assembly area where he can put together these finished units without having to break them up. Because in a smaller facility, you have this really high-end cabinetry that you've manufactured, but then you end up having to break it up and put it back together in the space where it's going to end up, like Legos, as he described it, without damaging it, and that can be really a nerve-wracking process. So he's excited to have a large enough assembly area where those finished units can be put together all in one piece without that breaking up.
So you mentioned a new facility. So let's get into that a little bit for Uralamu here. He needed to expand because business was good, it sounds like, and I imagine it's kind of tricky to find a good place in New York City. It's never cheap, from what my handful of times I've been there and everything I know, it's not a cheap place, and it's probably hard to find the right kind of facility for his operation.
Yeah, so, he told me that they've had roughly 30% year-over-year revenue growth for the last 5, 6 years, and this past year, an even bigger spike, about 55%, to the point that they had to actually take on a second factory temporarily in order to keep up with demand, and that demand, I think, was generated by, all these high-profile, projects they've done, for these luxury spots in the city, and, Geralamo told me that clients eat, hang out at some of the places that they've done work for. And so they see the work firsthand, and that leads to further clients and further projects. So that's been what's happening. And yeah, so it was time to expand, increase production capacity. However, as you allude to, Mike, New York City real estate is some of the most expensive in the world. And Chris told me, you could go to the middle of New Jersey and get 50,000 square feet much more easily, or out to Long Island, not Long Island City, by the way, that's a distinction. Long Island City's in New York City, but not, yeah, you could go further out. And when you have a factory, on the New York side of the Hudson River, that is a challenge. But, a lot of the projects that the company, deals with are in Manhattan. Geralamo said a lot of his longtime labor is there in the city, and he himself grew up in Queens, so it was important to him to stay in this area. By the way, he actually is a former Wall Street investment banker who took over his dad's company about 5-6 years ago. So he actually is kind of coming at the industry not as a craftsman himself, but as a businessman. And he told me about how he's kind of learned the trade just by doing it, by being there, and seeking the guidance and experience of the master cabinet makers and all of that.
That's interesting because I'm sure it's a very different. So it's like the right brain, left brain thing. It's sure it's a very different environment for him to be doing woodworking now, as it would before he was a Wall Street banker.
Yeah, I mean, he said that it's a hard trade, but he's grown to love it, and he described it as being in his blood, and he's really proud to carry on this company. So anyhow, he turned to Long Island City.
So let's explain all that, because I again, I've been in New York, but I don't know all the boroughs, and I got lost. I ended up in Brooklyn once, as I told you. So explain where geographically everything is in relation to the region.
So Long Island City is not to be confused with Long Island. It is a neighborhood within Queens, and it's actually a really central hub. It's a very industrial neighborhood, because it is right over the Queensboro Bridge from Manhattan. So it's an easy trip into Manhattan. It's also right over the Pulaski Bridge to Greenpoint, Brooklyn, and then it's part of Queens. So it's actually a connector of Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan, and it's kind of an ideal location for a business like this, because it's in this industrial section of Queens, but there's easy, instant access to clients in Manhattan, to Brooklyn, so it's a very centrally located place in New York City.
But that central location sounds like it came at a pretty steep price, according to what you wrote.
Yes, the company announced in January that it purchased the property, a 105-year-old industrial building in Long Island City, for $7.5 million, along with planning a few $1 million worth of upgrades. So yeah, a broker reached out to Geralamo with this property that's just 15 minutes from Axos' existing facility, and it's conveniently located right by the Queensboro or 59th Street Bridge, which takes you from Long Island City right into the east side of Manhattan. So, which is actually a very, the Upper East Side is the most expensive zip code in New York City, and a lot of these luxury spots are in that part of Manhattan. And so I imagine that Axos is probably delivering a lot of their cabinetry to that part of Manhattan.
So what will that prime location mean for his business? I'm sure you guys talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that location will mean that there's less time transporting, less time spent, for delivery. And also, they plan to set up a showroom, a client showroom in this new facility. So potential clients in the city won't have to drive down to the middle of New Jersey to see examples of Axos's work. They'll be right there, over the bridge into Long Island City. So that's an advantage. And and he'll be able to keep his labor and grow his labor with the New York City based employees. So yeah, there are a lot of advantages to being there, I think.
You might have mentioned it earlier in our talk, but how big is this new facility compared to what he had before?
Yep. So the existing one's 10,000 square feet, and this one is 30,000 square feet. So it quadruples the production space, and it occupies 3 floors. And he actually, Uralima mentioned that he's already gotten it up and running to some extent. They're planning extensive renovations, so it's going to be operational in phases, hopefully within 2 years altogether. But already he's set up some spray booths there, some woodworking benches. He's got a table saw on one floor of the building. So he's already making use of some of it, and that's only going to increase as they complete other parts of the renovation.
Had he mentioned to you, or when you guys were talking, what was in that new facility previously, or no, did that not come up?
No, he didn't mention that. I mean, yeah, I know it's over 100 years old, and it's an industrial. It's always been an industrial property, but I'm not sure what the previous occupant was, or if it was vacant at the time. The company sent over some photos of the building, and there's very old font type lettering on the top that says Goldsmith, which could be a name or trade. And the building looks like it may have not been in active use recently. But the company also sent along a great image of what they want it to look like once the renovations are done, which is a really impressive a vision. So which people can see when we print this and when it goes live on our website.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. In the course of reading your article, you mentioned how he had said he was going to be installing cameras on his shop floor. Man, I found that interesting because that's not a security measure. It's something else he's looking to do.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned that before with Uralima's background in banking and the kind of right brain, left brain thinking. He said he's a data person, and this is an old school trade, but he wants to really modernize processes and data tracking. So he wants to install, among other technology upgrades with the new facility, sophisticated camera system to track on a granular level the movements of the production process and compile that information and see what's working, what isn't, what can be modified, what can be tweaked for optimum production capacity. So yeah, the purpose of the cameras would be for tracking a production process and optimizing the manufacturing there.
And something related that I saw was mentioned in your article was he's looking at artificial intelligence and how that might be able to help his business, right?
Yeah, he mentioned a couple things related to digital technology. One was software that could kind of integrate everything in the production process, from the raw material processing to cabinet cutting and assembly to sanding, staining, paint rooms, the packing, delivery, a really holistic software solution. And he said that that's a challenge because there is great PLM and ERP software out there, obviously for manufacturing, but it's not specifically tailored to the needs of the millwork industry. So he's kind of looking at different ways he could potentially piece together bits and pieces of software and make it work for him for workflow management. And then, yes, as you mentioned, AI as well, clearly a massive game changer in the industry right now. And he's got these highly experienced, knowledgeable cabinet makers with 20 plus years on the floor. And he said that rather than having to send project managers back to them with production questions, all that legacy knowledge could be input and trained into an AI platform to provide answers to questions like, is this design feasible? How many pieces of material would it require? So leveraging the potential of AI for answers to these questions and expediting knowledge sharing and transmission within the production process.
And Yuralmu, I saw you during your interview mentioned that he's looking into expanding into other materials like metal, which is interesting from woodworking. What kind of things is he hoping to fabricate?
Well, he said that metals really kind of become part of their scope of work anyway. You know, it's a millwork manufacturer, but these projects they do for homes and commercial spaces almost invariably involve metal. You know, there are the metal inlays, there are metal doors in the kitchens that they help design cabinetry for, metal arches that go into the bar units that they build. So a lot of times he said that they're managing that metal part of the equation anyway. Like that comes as part of the plan of work. And so rather than having to continue to outsource those metal orders, which can involve very long lead times and a lack of quality control, which can derail a project, it makes sense for him to try to integrate that metal fabrication right into their own in-house process. And so what currently, Yuralmu mentioned that he's talking to different metal shops and hopes to acquire one in the near future to bring that under Axos Designs roof and better integrate that into what they already do.
Oh, very interesting. Well, Carrie, thank you so much for talking to me today and for our listeners. Your article should be coming out approximately when?
It should be in our April print issue, which means it will go online sometime in March. And yeah, just to close out, I just want to say, this is a great example of what we love to do in these shop solutions pieces. It's showcasing a particular company out there in the manufacturing world with a specific industry, a specific set of challenges, and how they're using, resourcefulness, ingenuity, problem solving to address them and overcome them. And it was fun for me to dive into the world of millwork on this one, which was new, and also to explore a company trying to make a go of an expansion in New York City. And it seems like there's a lot of potential ahead in terms of growth for Axos. And it's always great to see a family-run business, a father-son business, be fostered in this way.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this article when it comes out. And to keep up with the latest manufacturing trends and hear more podcasts, subscribe to our podcast feed. And of course, visit us at advancedmanufacturing.org.